decides what we all know. A mother saint or a menace too, depending which way feelings flow. Screams like sirens loud, 8 headlines march in single file while the Iran burns behind the crowd, lost in another outrage cycle. Electric fairies lose a blade, climate math drops 10 grand %. We tax the rich till they all fade, then ask where jobs and ships all went.
Good morning, America. How are you? I'm Rabbi Dave.
Good morning, America. I am Friar Rod.
And I guess we should just get right to it this morning.
That's great.
My news aggregator, when I got up this morning, I use a news aggregator, so yeah, I think many people do. I'm not unique in that vein at all.
Yeah.
But my aggregator this morning popped up, and it said, you know what the number one headline of this morning was?
Go ahead and give it to me.
ICE agent fatally shoots Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis. Followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories, plus a tab that says, see more headlines about the Minneapolis ICE shooting. That's the biggest news story, according to my news aggregator, on Sunday, January 11th.
Which have been how many days now since?
It's been at least 4, right?
Yeah.
And what is the actual biggest news story in the world today? It's not the Minneapolis ICE shooting.
It's not the fact that the Democrats have started saying Hamas is a bad thing?
Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? All of a sudden, all these people that have been screaming about how they love the Palestinians and how they support, Gaza and all that crap yesterday, suddenly started going berserk, tweeting, Xing. We should still call it tweeting, right?
I think. I don't know. Maybe we should ask Elon, hey, what are we supposed to be calling this?
Musks. They musked that Hamas bad. Hamas equals evil. Hamas is terrible. The same people who a week ago were telling us that we need Greta Thunberg to go over there and Greta Thunberg to go over there and
Star Wars character.
Greta Thunberg. She shot first. And rescue the Palestinians, the Gazans, from the evil Jews. Suddenly are telling us that everything that Hamas has done is evil.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like most things that happen in social media, it was cookie cutter, it was identical, it was over and over and over again the same thing. Which
very well.
Yeah. Which implies a course of action that is being directed. Coordinated, that's the word I was looking for. And at the same time, controlled by somebody who we don't know. And why was never made clear. Except that, and I'm going to caveat this by saying today is January 11th, 2026. It is currently 8:34 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, not Daylight Time, Pacific Standard Time, sorry.
Norwich won
today in a meaningless game that pissed me off because I was going to get up to watch it, but then last night Cammie decided was stay up till 2 a.m. watching that stupid reality show called The Circle until 2 a.m. So I was going to get up and watch it, and then when I finally did get up and watch it, it was like 58 minutes in. And about 78 minutes in, I realized that this isn't even a real game. This is a bowl game.
Yeah.
So now I'm pissed off about that. At any rate, so long story short, I lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was going with this.
We were talking about Hamas.
What time it is.
Yeah.
So timestamps matter, and because podcasting is not evergreen, it's not live radio, you might be listening to this 4 months from now and go, well, no shit, Dave. We all knew that. Well, right now we don't. There are numerous spurious reports that the Ayatollah Khamenei has been, quote, eliminated, unquote.
That should be, if it's true, that would be big news.
What does that mean? He's been eliminated. There are reports that the prime minister, either the prime minister or the president, I'm confused, left the country yesterday. And this eliminated thing just keeps popping up. He's been eliminated. He's been eliminated. Now, the problem that we have here, and this is the conversation that I had with my computer this morning. You ready for this?
Okay.
This is where I want to get, AI involved with this, of course. So I asked AI to summarize news stories, providing information that he had been eliminated or not. In other words, can you confirm this or can you lay it to rest? One of the two. Here's the straight truth. It says, anytime somebody says that, there is no credible evidence, credible in italics, that the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been eliminated or killed. I never said killed. I said it says he's been eliminated. Now, it goes on to say what reliable sources are reporting is that he's alive and active. And it says rumors of his death are unsubstantiated, but organizations such as Reuters, BBC, AP, etc., none of them have confirmed anything else. And it says these rumors are spreading because there's widespread unrest. There are communications blackouts. Iran has killed the internet there. And there's a lot of political tension between the United States and Iran right now, with the president of the United States explaining that if you keep killing protesters, do you see what we did to Venezuela? And I don't know if you've read the reports about that.
It's frightening.
Yeah. If I'm a member of the Iranian Republican Guard right now, I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to be here guarding your palace. Sorry. Right now, there's
hundreds, right?
Yeah. Right now, there's no corroborated evidence that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed or removed from power. Rumors of his elimination are coming from social posts and fringe outlets, not trusted international reporting. Now, when I read this, I said to the AI, because apparently I had too much free time this morning watching Norwich win their game 5-1. That doesn't mean anything. So I said, look, vis-a-vis number 2, which is rumors of his death are unsubstantiated, and that no credible organization has covered this. I said, vis-a-vis number 2, the media is barely covering this at all. Hence my newsfeed this morning, where I had to scroll down to get past a Minneapolis ICE agent shot a Minneapolis mother of 3 who was just trying to get home from work. It replied, yeah, you're not wrong. The protests are receiving remarkably thin coverage in most of the Western media. Why? Because it's hard work. It's hard to cover Iran.
Especially when the internet's out.
That's number 1. You want to know what number 2 is?
Sure.
Protest fatigue. People just don't want to hear about more protests.
Well, okay.
Minneapolis is the first story on my webpage on January 11th is ICE agent shoots Minneapolis mob. There's a long shadow of 2003 Western media remains deeply allergic, blah, 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 blah. Then it says this. It says, editors don't like to run these kinds of stories because they, quote, hate uncertainty.
I don't buy that, because how many times have they had to go back and retract what they said was certain knowledge, but yet wasn't?
Editors hate uncertainty, I replied. Are you serious? Just look at the reporting on Minneapolis and the unsubstantiated reporting there. What they don't actually like are narratives that don't fit their predetermined philosophy.
Okay.
And protests against the regime, the Islamic regime, don't fit their worldview.
And the response?
Editors do not avoid uncertainty in general. They try to avoid uncertainty that threatens their interpretive framework. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
They hate uncertainty that threatens their moral narrative. They tolerate, even celebrate uncertainty when it reinforces their philosophical priors, and they retreat when it does not. Hence, the news cycle this morning, which is all about Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to flip through channels on my local news, my local Seattle news, where there is news happening here in Washington State.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not being covered because some ICE agent got shot a mother of three who was just trying to go home in Minneapolis. That's what Adam Schiff told us. And the mayor of Seattle has said it's against her rules now to have ICE agents in Seattle.
So good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Meanwhile, there are protests in the streets of Bellevue, which is a suburb of Seattle, between white liberal women supporting the pro-Islamic jihad regime and people who actually are from Iran and, came to the United States because they were basically persecuted out, who are in the streets celebrating the fact that Iran might be falling.
I think the problem, Dave, and what we're seeing through a lot of these protests are white liberal women.
Does seem to be the problem, doesn't it?
It does.
It's interesting to me because had I been alive in the 1910s, I like to think I would have been a pro-suffragette.
Mm-hmm.
In that era, there was no logical reason in my mind to not allow women to vote. In fact, as you know, I love Wyoming, which is known as the equality state for the very specific reason that it recruited women to come to Wyoming, to populate Wyoming so they could become a state, by giving them the right to vote, long before the nation ever did. I have looked at that stuff and I've said, look, if we really believe in these principles, if we really accept these ideas, then you shouldn't be limiting the right to vote based on sex. And by sex, I mean male and female, not transmasculine, whatever the fuck you think you are. It's not what I'm talking about. I like to think that that's what I would have been in 1919. But I wonder if I had been standing there on the streets of, say, Los Angeles or Seattle or Boise or Atlanta in 1919 as this amendment's being debated, if all of a sudden as I'm walking down the street there was this and all of a sudden me, my great-grandson, was standing in front of me saying, don't do that. Just don't. Would I have listened to him? Yes.
Get it up.
This is no. No, don't do that. Would it have mattered? And I'm not sitting here saying we can't take the vote away from women. That's not what I'm saying. But clearly something has gone awry. Why are all these white liberal Karens in the streets filming each other getting shot by ICE agents?
Well, and weren't there reports? This was I don't recall how far back. I might have to look this up on ChatGPT, but that something like 50% of white Democratic liberal women claim to have some form of mental illness.
Yes, that's been out there for a while. It's certainly possible, but then again, I live in the 21st century, where, look, everybody's either on the spectrum or wants to be on the spectrum because it makes you a victim.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with mental illness. Are they really mentally ill, or did their husbands just not spank them when they deserved it? These are questions that we don't have answers to. I don't know. What I do know is we've watched an interesting dynamic over the past week. We have these white liberal women, and we have this Iranian gal lighting her cigarette with the burning paper.
Mm-hmm.
Which of those two is really a badass? Which of those two do you really want confronting an administration? I dated an Iranian gal for about 4 years back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And let me assure you that they are strong people. And I mean mentally strong. They are very strong people. And whatever's going on over there, we don't really know because we're told
like
that
Persian rugs.
Yeah. We're being told that this whole protest is just about high prices. It's not about Islamic fundamentalism. But then I see this picture of a girl standing on the street with no hijab, no burqa, smoking a cigarette and lighting it with a picture of Ayatollah Khamenei on fire. And I don't think this protest is about high prices.
Oh, well, and you can bet your bippy that any CIA assets that we have over there are stoking that fire.
You can bet that. But it does raise an interesting question about what we've been watching. When the shooting happened in Minneapolis, what was, generally speaking, the very first reaction of most of us?
It's hard to say because, one, I get a lot of the real-time news updates from X. And I follow a various number of different people of different persuasions. And so it almost immediately galvanized one way or the other. You had people that were showing the video, and then as more videos came out, they were actually dissecting them, which I appreciate because then it allows us to get the opportunity to see what's going on. But then you had the differences, thinking and analysis versus total emotional reaction. Oh my God, she was a mother and she was just trying to get away and she was afraid for her life. And
the Adam Schiff reaction.
Yeah.
She's just a mother of three on her way to work in the wrong place at the wrong time. Which, by the way, he still has not come out and said, yeah, I got that wrong.
He's not going to do that.
No. You said something there that's interesting to me. We saw the video.
Mm-hmm.
When it first came out, the video came across ICE shooting in Minneapolis. You watch the video. It instantaneously went what I would call beyond hyper. It went plaid on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You couldn't swing a dead cat on a 3-foot string without hitting this story anywhere in the country. Yeah. And it became a social media contagion.
Mm-hmm.
Your entire opinion of this story was driven entirely by what we saw or perhaps didn't see on social media. There were people in my orbit who were explaining to me over and over again, well into Friday, that this was just some mom who was on her way home or dropped off her kids at work, and she just happened to be caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she was scared. And I would say, what are you watching? Because I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
This is not, some of you in California will remember this, this is not Mindy Singh. This is not a woman who runs into the bank real quick to drop off a deposit while her girl waits in the car. She gets held hostage and killed in the subsequent gunfight. This is not that. This is a woman who intentionally put herself there. Whatever you want to think about it. And I'm not here to debate all of that today.
For 4 minutes.
For 4 minutes, yeah.
Parallel parked or perpendicular parked in the road.
Right. While her partner, question,
yeah,
films her. The social media impact on this event is far more telling to me because there is no fair and balanced in social media. It's all based on who you follow and what's in your algorithm. If you believe that the Adam Schiff story is correct, that she was just a mother who dropped off her kids and just was there, that's all you're seeing in your algorithm. And if you believe that she was a violent Karen protester, that's all you're seeing in your feed, in your algorithm. There's no middle ground here. Now, having said that, I personally believe that she intentionally tried to, I think the videos are pretty clear at this point, that she intentionally tried to run over an ICE agent. Was the ICE agent justified in shooting her? That's a question I can't answer. I know what people are saying, but look, I was highly trained in the use of deadly force. I was a nuclear weapons security guard, folks. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about deadly force? You looked wrong at that weapon. The rules are very specific. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what his training was. I don't know. Would I have done that? That's the only question that I can answer. Mm-hmm. And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know what the stress levels were. I don't know. And you can't get that from social media.
Well, and he was, 6 months prior, he was dragged down the street and injured, holding on to a car. So
right,
that's going to affect his
That's
decision.
going to affect his judgment. Whether you agree with it or not, it's going to affect his judgment. But here's where it gets weird, Rod, and here's where I get off the rails. The entirety of this story is driven not by the legacy media, as it were, even though my Seattle local news this morning is all about a Minneapolis shooting and how Seattle is taking action to make sure that that doesn't happen here, and how we're protesting the second shooting in Portland, and protesters are in the street protesting because this wanted murderer, illegal immigrant, tried to run over a BCP agent with his car and got shot himself. And they're protesting ICE BCP shooting him.
A Venezuelan gang member,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wanted for murder. Huh. At any rate, what if it had been a Portland police officer that had shot him instead of a BCP agent? Would that make any difference? All of this stuff is driven by social media. I mean, I assume people are watching the evening news or the Fox morning news here in Seattle. I assume that they are, but I don't feel like I'm getting any news from them.
I usually go to print sources or something on the internet, right? Yeah, news organizations that have stories that I can look up.
The question becomes, in a world that we live in today, how do we know that what we're seeing on social media is real?
I think the only way right now is the preponderance of evidence. It's not just one source. It's not just one video. You'd have to have more than that.
Oh, I'm with you.
I just don't know, because of the algorithms and how they work. Now, the way my X works, I get a balanced mix. Typically, I get some left people that show up, and I get some right people that show up in my For You feed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to my followers all that often. I do, but I do to check, but on the For You is where the algorithm's doing its magic, right? So
Right.
that's where I'm seeing kind of a balance there. But that's because I have followed some left people, or have at least looked at their stuff, right? So I try to be fair, because I don't try to just look at the one point of view, because
We all think that. We all think I'm trying to be fair.
Yeah.
I think that if I was alive in 1919, I would have voted for suffrage. Was it the right thing to do? Or was it a social contagion? And with AI, how do I know what I'm seeing is real? There is a video making the rounds right now. I've seen it myself this morning, of an ICE agent in an undetermined location seizing a child from an obviously South American woman as they arrest her. And there is outrage building, at least up here, over this video. The implication is that this was in Seattle. The problem is that the ICE agent taking the child appears to have 3 arms. Now, you look at that and you go, well, that's obviously AI.
Yeah.
But what if it didn't have 3 arms? What if the AI actually nailed it? What if the guy doing the AI or gal doing the AI caught that before they put it out there?
Well, so this is where it's not going to happen right now because of the emotional state of the issues going on. But we need to have cooler heads prevail. We need to not be making decisions in a rushed judgment when emotions are in play.
I agree completely. But that's not human nature.
No.
That's not how we do things. We do things. We intentionally manipulate people's emotions to get them to make the decision that we want them to make.
Well, it's all part of advertising, right? You want them to make that emotional buy.
Women should have the vote.
Deal.
Yeah. Women, it's only fair. If you're not for that, you're just not very fair. You don't really believe in the principles of the Declaration and the Constitution. How else would I be made to feel?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen. There's a part of me, a big part of me, that wants the pro-Islamic lunatic regime in Iran to fall.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that says, okay, if it does fall, what do you replace it with? There are people saying
it'll be some other form of Islamic government.
Well, there are people saying they want the Shah back. The Shah himself, obviously the son of the Shah from 79, has made a statement that he's ready to return when you're ready for me to come back. But is he going to come back and start the secret police again? Is he going to come back and do all the things that got the original Shah in enough trouble to make it fertile ground for an Islamic revolution?
Once you're in power, your goal is to maintain that power.
That's the part that scares me. What replaces that? I do know this, Rod. I know that in the late 70s, before 1979, the United States and Iran were very good friends. Mm-hmm. Iran had some of our most advanced military technology because we sold it to them. The F-14 fighters.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't give those to anybody else. We didn't give those to England. We didn't give those to Germany. But we did give them to Iran. And in several of my classes at Ogden High School was a young man whose name I could never pronounce, called him M. And looking back at it, I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, it was weird because I was literally one of the only people that would be friends with him. But he was from Iran, and he was part of an exchange student program. He was getting ready to go back to Iran to train to be a military pilot once we graduated. And he was deeply concerned about what was happening in Iran. And at the same time, we also had a female in our class from Iran, exchange student, who was vehemently, like, imagine this, you're in Ogden, Utah, where it is not unusual for non-Mormons to be walking down the hallway and be, I almost said accosted, but that's not really the right word, approached by missionaries who want to talk to you about, can I talk to you about the Book of Mormon? Kind of thing, okay?
Okay.
That's the environment we have. And don't send me an email saying it doesn't happen. It happened to me. Walking down this hallway, this gal's in the hallway screaming anti-Western slogans, down with the Shah, death to Israel, all of this. That's 1979. Okay? And it was very uncomfortable. My English teacher of blessed memory, Mrs. Darrington, decided that since we were all in the same English class together, that would be an interesting idea to have a discussion about this one day in English class. 7, 8, 9 years later, we'd go to visit her on Halloween because that was our big thing. And we were talking one night about, that really wasn't a good idea, was it? She just laughed and said, nope, but you're still talking about it, so.
You quickly found out that, this woman is screaming her opinion, but if she went back to Iran, she would have had the right to vote.
I'm not sure she would have minded, to be honest with you. That's the part that baffles me. I don't understand these people protesting for the Iranian regime. You understand that most of you would be killed by them, right? You don't seem to get that. Some of you would be thrown off of roofs because that's what they do to people like you. And they don't seem to care. But that's a social media contagion. That's social media telling them that Donald Trump and conservatism and MAGAism and republicanism is worse than that. Well, who told them that and why? Social media?
Well, and legacy media hasn't been helping.
Well, no, because editors, they don't do that. They're afraid of those kinds of stories. That's what ChatGPT told me. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to Iran. I do not know. Hell, I don't know what's going to happen in Minneapolis. I suspect that we are headed for a summer of riots that will rival 2020.
Yeah.
I can see that coming, and I don't need a crystal ball to see that. Don't know what's going to happen in Iran, but I do hope that whatever happens there is better. Now, there's some reasons for that. One, of course, is the fact that I'm Jewish, and for thousands of years, Persia and Israel, even if they weren't friends, they were friendly.
Yeah.
The Jews hold Persia in very high regard, one of the righteous amongst the nations. But Iran, the Ayatollah, the Islamic Republic, is a problem. That's an issue. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
But where will it end up? I don't know.
Fascinating culture, though.
It is a very fascinating culture. They have some very interesting food. Their tea is fantastic. Got used to drinking that while I was dating her. Their food's a little suspicious, but but at the same time, there's some very positive things about it that I really liked. And there you go. Anyway, what do you think? WTF at whatthefrock.org. Weigh in on this. I think that this whole thing is being driven by social media, and I'm concerned because I don't know if I can believe any of it or not. What do you think? Welcome back. I'm Dave.
I am Rob.
And I know this doesn't really matter to most of you, but there is news here in Washington State.
Is there?
3 of our ferries are out of commission.
They could have the homeless just go and camp out on them, right, and do drugs on it.
I realize that to most of you, you look at it and you go, well, who cares? But imagine, for those of you that live in the Bay Area, if all 3 bridges were out, all 4 bridges were out, how would that impact you?
Gridlock, man. It would take hours to get around the bay.
Same kind of thing here. The ferries are our bridges. They are our bridges. So, and we have basically the same number to get across the Puget Sound, just in different, from north to south. The biggest ones run the Bremerton to Seattle ferry, which is the biggest route. And 3 of those ferries are now out of commission. One dropped a propeller blade the other day. They don't know why.
That's not good.
No, it's not. And any mariner can tell you why, because you didn't do proper maintenance. Your zincs aren't on there, right? And, metal in salt water tends to dissolve.
Blah, 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 blah. Wait, we're not going anywhere. But...
Now this comes after, I talked about this, I think, on my show a couple months ago, the fact that the state of Washington sent contracts to have 3 new ferries built, these electric ferries, in Florida, which, if you look at a map, is on the other side of the country. So how do you get the ferry, if you build it in Florida, how do you get it from Florida to here?
You'd have to do Panama Canal, right?
Or go all the way around, which you're not going to do on a ferry because that water's too rough. So you got to go through the Panama Canal, adding expense to this whole thing and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, you will note that here in the Puget Sound area, we have shipyards that can build these things. In fact, many of them were built here. So why aren't we building them here?
Because the economies are better in Florida?
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with the economy. It has to do with government and idiotic Washington State Climate Control Act.
Okay.
Which is a bill that the state passed back in 2023 to fight climate change by reducing emissions here in the state of Washington. Yes, you heard that correctly. The state of Washington is going to reduce our emissions by 7.5 million metric tons per year. And by doing so, the world will be saved, the unicorns will make a comeback, and peace and love and harmony will reign.
Kumbaya.
Of course, nobody pointed out the fact that if Mount St. Helens goes off again, it's kind of defeats your whole purpose there. But, and the fact that China, India, Indonesia, Russia, a few other places are generating far more than that to offset our offset, I guess. So that's the theory. So this caused us to say, well, what we need are electric ferries. Okay. Now, in fairness, I had my first experience riding an electric ferry 2 months ago. It was not significantly different from the diesel ferries. It was quieter. I'll give you that. Didn't take any less time, any more time. It didn't.
Probably heavier too, I would imagine.
That would be my guess, although I went on the Port Townsend to Coupeville run, so that's a run that really depends this wide tidal shift, so it wouldn't make any sense to put a heavier one on that. But
I don't know. Do they charge them when they get into port?
I guess they're not in there that long.
Backup generators just in case.
I would hope so. But then again, there you go. So we got to have these electric, right? That's what I would build. But so they need these electric ferries, but they can't build them here because to build them here, the companies that could build them here would exceed their cap and trade values, and they can't afford to pay more to buy more credits to build these electric ferries. So one of the things that's really pissing people off up here is that we sent these ferry contracts for these 3 ferries, $715 million, to a Republican red state run by a Magite, Florida.
That's what I find hilarious.
That was funny enough.
Yeah.
That's not even the funniest part of this.
Could have been worse. Could have been like Texas or something.
Yeah, could have been. But Florida makes it worse because, it's Florida.
Ron DeSantis.
Man.
In Mar-a-Lago.
So that's the first flaw in this whole plan. Now we're paying, on average, about $1 a gallon more than the national average for our gas.
Mm-hmm.
For
You're
money,
with California, right?
Yeah. For money that is then supposed to go into climate infrastructure projects.
Mm-hmm.
Not the roads, because the roads are just shit. And climate justice programs.
Okay.
That we're paying $1 a gallon or more for. And, by the way, the state of Washington has a, $12 billion, $15 billion deficit. And so even though our Constitution says there shall be no income tax,
mm-hmm.
the Washington State Legislature is meeting right now to introduce a ... income tax.
Yeah.
Of course, it's only going to apply to rich people.
Until the rich people leave.
And
they
but to compensate for that, they've made sure that they define rich as $125,000 a year.
Oh.
Which, by the way, I would point out is about $25,000 under the needed median income to live in Washington State.
Okay, well, so, yeah.
It's unconstitutional. They can't do it.
Sure.
So they're doing it anyway.
Of course.
Because they've already bought off the state Supreme Court, which will discover that, it's not really an income tax, it's an excise tax. So that's okay. That's what they've done before. Thank you, John Roberts. As if that were not enough, the state government was compelled, by court order this week, to release one of its own reports about the effectiveness of the Climate Control Act,
mm-hmm.
which, remember, was supposed to reduce Washington emissions by 7.5 million
mm-hmm.
metric tons. You want to know what the number that came in was?
Yeah, I'm sure it was not that.
They missed it, but just a hair.
Okay,
they overestimated the amount that it would be reduced, that all these actions would reduce the emissions. They overestimated it by 9,515%.
Okay,
all of these actions taken together will reduce metric ton emissions by 78,000 metric tons, which is basically Mount St. Helens going, bleh.
Yeah. The first course of action really should be to terminate the contract or fire the individuals responsible for that projection.
Should be, but this is Washington State, which is run by the Democrat Party, which has a stranglehold on politics, and is now actively debating redistricting so that there will be no Republican seats representing anybody here in Washington in either the state legislature or Congress. So even though the state is almost half Republican, much like Massachusetts, there will be no Republican representation.
Which will drive the red voters out.
It will drive more push to the mythical state of Jefferson.
Well, but you're also going to now have an excise income tax.
Yep.
Right? And so that's going to drive more people out.
Not just an excise income tax, Rod. We're also going to tax businesses for salaries. 5% on every salary over $125,000.
Yeah, so jobs are going to evaporate.
Amazon has already said, adios.
Yeah.
We're out. And
Microsoft will do it.
Microsoft will be right behind them, which doesn't really bother me. But the bottom line is 9,515%. They missed it by that much. Welcome back. I'm Dave.
I'm Rod.
So back in August-ish, I came across a story that I wanted to put on this show.
Okay. What was it?
And I just couldn't do it.
Why is that?
Did you know that there was this alien spacecraft approaching that was going to reach Earth in November? And we don't know if it's going to be benevolent and they're coming to help us, or evil and they're coming to destroy us.
So I'm Generation X, early. which means I am highly skeptical of anything.
Well, I get that.
I saw experts coming out of the woodwork on both sides saying, it's this, no, it's this, it's that. I'm like, yeah, it's experts. The same type of COVID experts we had, I guess. And
this was the famed 3I/Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
Was supposed to come to Earth, and
it's things that are unexpected and shouldn't be happening.
Right. I don't know what those were, but
a reverse tail, I think, was one of them. It's a comet. No, it's not.
So for months, and I played with bringing that story on this show because I like stories about impending destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Harold camping and the rapture coming and the whole 9 yards. I like those kind of stories because they're fun to fuck with. They're fun to mess with people on. I mean, they really are. What do you care if I'm spending all your money? The Atlas is going to take you away anyway. And of course, for those of us that play No Man's Sky, it was the Atlas is coming, and
oh, cool! I want to go check it out.
Yes. I won't know what it means, but so this went on for months. These people posting videos and social media things about this is so weird, and NASA's lying about it. There was a guy that interrupted the NASA press conference saying, "You're lying," blah 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 blah. Of course, it turned out it was just a rock.
Yeah,
it's already come and gone, and didn't visit Earth either benevolently or angrily. I mean, it just didn't show up. And now, this is what I love about living when I live. Now we're getting the excuse mongering.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Alex Jones move. You know that they're going to put us all into concentration camps, right?
Yeah.
And you know why it didn't happen.
Well, you have to do your impersonation.
Well, it didn't happen because you know that I scared them off because I was talking about it. You can look it up. It's on the internet. And because I was talking about it, they couldn't do it. And so now the whole thing is happening with 3I Atlas, which is, well, the reason it did, the fact that it didn't stop doesn't prove that it's not an alien spaceship. Maybe they got close. It doesn't prove that they got close enough to us to see what was going on, and they figured, well, these people are hopeless, and so, or they don't need our help, and so they just kept going. These people are just not going to accept the fact that this thing was a rock. They're just not going to accept it.
Well, and the thing is, there's trolls out there, right? And so they're going to push people off the edge. It's what I would do.
It's a very Goliardish thing to do. You mean to tell me that there are people out there who finding one of these people will egg them on? Surely you jest.
Well, birds aren't real then.
Well, I can't prove it, but if you believe that 3I Atlas was a spaceship, you're a moron. Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Dave.
I am Friar Rod.
So you all excited about the NFL playoffs?
I'm interested. I'm interested to see it.
Two good games.
I'm actually excited that cricket's coming back.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm excited about that too. I was watching the South African tournament yesterday.
I was watching it this morning,
and it's just I've missed that game. I really have. I really have missed that, and it's just I don't know. I can't wait for them to build the park here in Seattle because that's something I would go to Seattle for.
Okay. I'm not going to the Oakland Coliseum to go watch the San Francisco Unicorns.
Well, they're building a cricket-specific park here in Seattle, so I'm planning to go to that because I don't know when they're going to get it done, but because right now Major League Cricket they play in 4 stadiums. What is it? Miami, Texas somewhere.
I kind of like how they do it, where they just have, the several teams play in that same park, and then they go to another one.
Yeah, it's kind of moving it around, but we don't have a stadium up here that they can play in, so once we get that, because, the Seahawks sure aren't going to let them play in Lumen Field, which is weird. Anyway,
back to NFL. Sorry.
Back to the NFL stuff. 2 good games yesterday. My dad is not here to enjoy my ribbing anymore. The Packers lost last night, which was awesome, blowing a 21-3 lead. That was great. I don't really care about Carolina or the Rams, but at least it was a good game. And the Rams did not cover. They were 13-point favorites. And what I'm learning is that's a lot of lumber. That's a lot of lumber, especially in the playoffs, because, well, you could argue, but the Panthers were 8-9. They're a losing team. Yeah, but they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So 13 points.
I was watching the news last night, and they had the sports commentator, I think, interviewing, was it the Chicago Bears quarterback, and I don't know his name because I just don't know.
Caleb Williams.
And he was kind of rambling on, and he was going on and on about whatever it is he was talking about, but it so totally reminded me of Bedazzled, right? In the interview when he wanted to be the sports guy, he's like, "Oh yeah, we just got to play as a team, and we just got to, go out there and give it 110%." And
he's sweating all over her.
He's sweating all over. That's what it totally reminded me of. Yeah. Sorry.
No, Caleb Williams is an interesting guy. Caleb Williams is a great example of what's wrong with college football, because he was a Sooner, started at Oklahoma, gave us one of the greatest Oklahoma wins in history, and then went to USC because, they give him money or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, 3 games today, 1 game tomorrow. We'll find out what the Broncos do, because the Broncos are the number 1 seed, so I don't know who they're going to play, when they're going to play. I don't know. So this weekend is kind of one of those weekends of like, it's like, because the Broncos are off, the Seahawks are off, and the Giants, of course, are completely out of it, much like the Los Angeles Raiders, also looking for a coach. Las Vegas Raiders, sorry.
The Las Vegas Raiders were never in it.
Hey, if you weren't with them at 3-14, don't be with them at 2-15 next year. Jeez.
I don't know who they are.
They don't know who they are. They know they're not. They know they're not Pete Carroll anymore. So there's that. All that's great. I enjoy it. The CFP playoffs. I was so happy to see Oregon get bitch slapped by Indiana. Oregon been talking shit all season long about how Indiana wasn't real on their social media feeds. If Indiana had to play us, they wouldn't be undefeated. Blah 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 blah. And they got bitch slapped.
So my dad and my dad's family are all from Eugene, Oregon. So my dad is he's a duck. He went to the University of Oregon. So they're hurting. They're hurting right now. And if they're listening, I don't know if they listen to this show, but sorry, I saw part of that game and I turned it off and it was like 34-7.
Yeah, I have no emotional investment in Indiana at all. I was disappointed that Ole Miss didn't make it. I really wanted Ole Miss in Indiana. Okay. For the simple reason that either story would be fantastic. Indiana doing their thing, Ole Miss with their coach Lane Trader Kiffin leaving. Either story would have been great. And I can't get into Miami. Never have been able to get into Miami, knowing their history, and there's just no. I can't do that. So there's that. There's the NFL playoffs. Hockey's rolling now. Sports are getting going, but all of that doesn't matter. Rod, you know why?
I do know why, Dave, and it's super important.
Because we asked, and people reacted.
They delivered. They didn't just react.
They came out in I wouldn't say droves, but they came out in the appropriate numbers. How's that? We needed 100 fans.
Yeah.
And within 24 hours, it didn't take that long, did it? Within 24 hours, we had the 100 fans on the Facebook page.
Yeah. And our 100th fan was my former coworker and friend, Shashank Soni. And so I just wanted to shout out to him because he's a good guy, and I'm just so grateful that he listens and he loves the show, and that's why I asked you to do the Alex Jones impersonation. Because
you can look him up. He's on the internet, I'm sure. It was great that people did that. And we really appreciate it. Now we're stuck waiting the 60 days from the day of the founding of the page.
So no, we just got to keep the 100 fans.
Right. Now we just got to keep everybody there. And in the meantime, not have the problem that we had before, which was getting the strikes. There as well. So we'll see what happens with it. And then we are now putting these on YouTube. So if you want to see what we look like, I can't imagine why you would.
Sunday mornings, unshaven, usually before a shower. So, hey,
yeah,
if it was smell-o-vision, you'd smell coffee breath.
Right. Other than my brilliant intros and outros, I don't really know. See, I should just put those on there and then just put a section in the middle that says, the show went here.
Yeah, they'd see you muting and coughing a lot.
Yes. Other than that, I don't know. But yeah, we are doing that on video. It's interesting. I'm working hard on this video thing. I had a long conversation with a well-known formerly nationally syndicated host this past couple of weeks, who once gave me some great advice when he was still nationally syndicated on KFIV. And we sat down at a Mexican restaurant one day and had a long conversation about my show and what I could do and things like that. And he and I kind of talked again this week about some things. And that's one of the things he said was, because I brought up the fact that, I hired that consultant, all they said was, you got to do videos. And videos are a pain in the ass. They really are. They take
a lot of work.
Forever to produce, to do post-production, rendering, and god damn if uploading doesn't just take forever. But I have solved that problem.
Really?
With a compression program that will take a 5 gigabyte or 5 megabyte thing and drop it down to about 50K without loss of stuff. And so that's why I left Rumble. Rumble was probably a really good system, but it was slow. I mean, glacially slow for upload. It would take overnight to upload a 30-minute video.
Wow.
It was insane. And I complained vociferously and, your videos are just too big. Well, then why doesn't it say when I go to upload it, your video is too big?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, so I had this conversation with Russ, and we talked about it, and he was like, yeah, it's really the way to go. And, of course, he gave me this article from YouTube that I guess YouTube now is the #1 podcast consumption in the world.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we will put the videos on YouTube. Eventually, we'll be able to go live on YouTube instead of Facebook because we have the same problem on YouTube, which we have on Facebook, which is we just don't have enough content there. And I could go back and do all that stuff, but would ever forward. That's my motto. We don't look back. We go forward. So that's where it is. But I wanted to say thank you. That was really cool.
Super encouraging. I had people coming up to me afterwards saying, hey, it looks like a fun site. I had some left-leaning people that said, hey, that looks great. I'm like, okay, well, you haven't listened yet, but okay.
Well, we mock right people too, so.
We do. Of
course, the drawback is, now see, I've been all this positive and I've said all these great things.
Oh no, here it comes. The other shoe.
I sent out 500 invitations.
I sent out 350 some odd.
So we sent out almost 900 invitations.
Yeah.
Where the hell are the rest of you people at?
We got 150, right?
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong. You 150, you're wonderful. Where the hell are the rest of you? Don't tell me you're my friend. Don't send me a thing 20 years from now saying, I was there listening at the beginning, because I've got a list of who was there. And when it comes time, when my great-grandson says, hey, should we give these people the vote? The answer is going to be, hell no. And on that note, I'm Rabbi Dave.
I'm Friar Rod.
And this has been a very thankful episode of
What the Frock?
So grab your frock and come aboard. This nonsense can't be ignored. We joke, we gripe, we spin, we sing. While Rome burns on, we do our thing. What the frock is going on here? We may not know, but still we cheer. Raise your voice, your glass, your brow, because the frock is happening now. Because the frock is happening now.